On Tuesday, January 24, 2023, police in Duxbury, Massachusetts were dispatched to the home of Lindsay and Patrick Clancy, where they discovered the bodies of the couple's 3 children, 5-year-old daughter Cora, 3-year-old son Dawson, and 7-month-old son Callan, on the floor of the basement with exercise bands wrapped around their necks. 32-year-old Lindsay, having jumped out of the second story of the home in an attempt to take her own life, was taken to a Boston area hospital with several broken bones in her back and rib cage. The triple homicide sent shockwaves through the Boston area, nation, and eventually the world for the horrific manner of death and seemingly inexplicable act by an otherwise loving and attentive mother. Investigators were able to build a case to bring charges against Lindsay by piecing together a timeline of the events that led to the tragedy. On the morning of January 24th, Clancy starts her day by taking 5-year-old Cora to the pediatrician for an appointment. According to investigators, the receptionist, nursing staff, and doctor at the clinic noticed nothing unusual about her behavior. After the appointment, she returns home and goes outside with Cora and Dawson to play in the snow. They build a snowman and she sends photos to her mom and Patrick, showing no signs of distress. But at this point, prosecutors say, she begins a series of calculated events that would ultimately lead to the murder of her 3 children. At 4:02 p.m., Clancy searches Kids Miralax, a product used to treat constipation, on her phone. 11 minutes later, she searches for Takeout 3V, a restaurant in nearby Plymouth. Then she uses Apple Maps to determine how long it will take to drive from Duxbury to 3V restaurant. At 4:47 p.m., Clancy calls the local CVS drugstore and asks if they have Kids Miralax in stock. The manager tells her no, but that they have other similar medications. 6 minutes later, Lindsay texts Patrick, who is working at his home office in the basement, and asks him if he wants to order takeout from 3V restaurant. "I didn't cook anything. It's been a long day," she wrote. According to prosecutors, this was unusual because the couple usually got takeout closer to home. At 5:06 p.m., Patrick and Lindsay text back and forth about what they want to order, and 4 minutes later, Lindsay calls 3V restaurant to place the order. At 5:15 p.m., Patrick leaves the house to stop by the drugstore and pick up the food. A short time later, Lindsay texts him Pedialax liquid stool softener. Surveillance video from CVS shows Patrick in the children's medicine aisle at 5:32 p.m. A minute later, he calls Lindsay, but she doesn't answer. She calls him back at 5:34 to tell him the specific medication she wants. Patrick told prosecutors later that the call was completely normal, but that it did seem like Lindsay was in the middle of something. At 5:54 p.m., surveillance footage shows Patrick picking up his takeout order at 3V restaurant and leaving. He arrives home at 6:09 p.m. and doesn't see or hear his wife and kids, so he calls Lindsay's cell phone. Patrick goes to their bedroom and finds it locked, but is able to get inside, where he sees blood on the floor and an open window. Looking out the window, he sees Lindsay on the ground with wounds on her wrists and neck. He runs downstairs and asks Lindsay, who is conscious, "What did you do?" And she tells him that she had tried to kill herself by jumping out of the window. Patrick then calls 911, where prosecutors say he can be heard asking Lindsay where the kids are, to which she replies, "In the basement." Patrick can be heard on the 911 call entering the basement and screaming in agony and shock as he finds Cora and Callan on the floor in the den area of the finished basement, and Dawson alone on the floor in the home office, the exercise bands used to strangle them still tied around their necks. Patrick can be heard on the call begging his children to breathe and screaming, "She killed the kids!" Medical technicians arrived a short while later but could not resuscitate Cora and Dawson. Callan was taken to a hospital and put on life support, where he would die several days later. According to prosecutors, Lindsay had recently finished a stay at McLean Hospital, a psychiatric unit in Belmont, and had exhibited suicidal ideation in the past, but was not suffering from postpartum depression or symptoms. On Tuesday, February 7th, Lindsay pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of murder, 3 counts of strangulation, and assault and battery with a deadly weapon in the deaths of Cora and Dawson, from a hospital bed where she is being treated for injuries that will likely render her paralyzed from the waist down. Lindsay's defense lawyer, Kevin Reddington, disputed that point in court, suggesting that the crimes were not planned but were a result of mental illness, a debate that will likely play out over the course of the trial. Also sure to be a hot-button issue will be Lindsay's prescription medication intake leading up to the murders. It is said that she was prescribed as many as 13 different psychiatric medications at one time. Regardless of the outcome, the case is sure to raise awareness for postpartum depression, mental health, and the dangers of prescription medication and their side effects, as there is no doubt some, if not all of that, played a role in Lindsay's ultimate and fateful decision to take the lives of her 3 innocent children.